computer. Hey there, it's Tammy Gomez. That's me with these folks here in the Zoom space. Recordando los caminos donde andamos. That's a theme for this month. Remembering the roads or the paths that we journey. And this month is April, and it's National Poetry Month. So here we are, about 10 or so days left in the month of poetry. So let's see what we can bring together from our archives of material, published and unpublished. So welcome. We're here every month on the third Saturday of the month, and it's a virtual series, and we record these events for posterity and to be able to share out a link if you need it for any kind of proof that you were sitting in that chair tonight. Then we can be your alibi. And this event is not going to be engaging with the AI companion, so we are AI free tonight. So thank you for being yourselves, being real here. I have something I'd like to read. It's behind me. I pulled up some things kind of randomly, and I found something that's kind of like a Ars Poetica, and I'd like to read at least the beginning of it. My struggle focuses on the disenfranchised with whom I have the most personal experience and expertise: Latinos, Hispanics, Mexicano-Americanos, young people of color, outsider or sub-alt youth, feminist, women and men in the movement struggles from environmentalism and bioregionalism and yerbaria to grassroots media, pirate radio, indie media, and identity cultural rights struggles. My back hurts. I am fixed in the movement as a speaker, cheerleader, promoter, and persuader. I do such work with my skills and artistic abilities as spoken word artist, cultural event producer, and director, writer, and commentator, playwright, and performer. I am more than a little good at organizing. My fire gets inspired when I see others, not the routine career activists, but the riveted and woken up masses, deciding to move beyond the empty promise, shattered meaning, and cold betrayal of a social economic state system that has disillusioned us. It's the infrequent flyers who I want to gift with wings. It's the silently oppressed whose voices I bring to stages and mics and marchas and other public forums of empowerment. My people, and there are many, are in love with chaos because that is all they have seen in their lives, rejected and neglected as they have been. They love chaos because that is where the bright fruit of magic has sometimes necessarily surfaced. We live and love and work and struggle in the midst of chaos, and we have grown to distrust the linear, monotonal, hierarchical methods of institutions which demean, defile, and dehumanize us. Our struggle needs no clean lines of demarked centralist power. In fact, it is doomed to fail if we drop our local efforts and ways of coordinating in favor of a more nationally focused leadership. We can have our heroes, sheroes, and mentors, families of righteous leaders in other cities and states and indeed countries. We can be inspired by their progress and movement, but we must ultimately wend our way in our personal spheres of influence and impact. It is not enough to win a battle against the pro-war movement. The anti-war movement needs to win the war of ideologies. As Latina, woman, bilingual, Hispanic, elder, feminist, and patriarchy resistor, I have long-term fights to wage. It is a fight I fight with words and dialogue and celebration and reclamation. It is not a fight to the finish. It is a fight to the beginning. It is always that beginning that I have in mind, the fresh start with new commitments, enhanced comprehension, fired up integrity that I want to encourage and nurture. War is about oppression based on the hate of racism, classism, gender discrimination, hate of other, hate of not like me. Hence, that is why there are so many strains of sub-meaning at every anti-war rally or event you might attend. See that the state and its supporters has waged war on people, U.S. born or not, of color or not, women or not, educated or not. We have been betrayed. Our notion of what is fair and good, the sense of natural law, a higher rule of law than anything any man or woman could legislate or enforce, has been trampled. We see this reflected on our urban streets where gang colors run to blood red to mirror the indifferent, calloused hand of government, which operates as its own impunitive gang of all gangs. Boys in the hood of Capitol Hill to the White House to Pentagon.
Uh,
Uh, yeah,
That's
that's June 2008.
and
Wow.
what for what occasion did you write that, or was it just to write it?
I'm not sure. Maybe it was for some kind of grant proposal, or maybe somebody wanted something like that for me. But it
Mhm.
was about a month after I'd come out of the closet, from my being trapped in a closet for two and a
Mhm.
half days. So
Well,
a lot going on. But yeah, anyway, thank you. Who would like to read next?
Well, first, I
Oh,
thought that was about today.
I thought it was fresh as well.
Yeah.
it could be. I mean, there's lots of things that have that there's lots of things when I read my own work and other people's work, and um in my book that's not poetry per se, that it just rings really, really true to right now. It seems like to me. Sometimes it's much more intense right now, but you think, oh wow, I wrote this, whenever. So
yeah,
I
it's
was
on
just
repeat. Things are on repeat a
yeah.
lot lately, or endless loop.
I was just reading today, um, here in Fort Worth, a group of right wingers wanted to use a community center to have an anti-trans uh, forum, and they were denied the ability to use the community center because of hate speech being disallowed in public places. Um, and there's a big hullabaloo about it, and all the right wingers came up, um, and so there's a runoff election for my congressional district, District 12, um, between two Republicans, and there's a Democrat. But one of the Republicans is a person who has billboards up talking about "Make America Great Again," Christian nationalist, Republican, um, and is having he's offering his office as the space for this forum. Um, and so all that came to my mind when I was listening to your your poem.
Yeah, that event was scheduled to happen at the Victory Forest Community Center on Hemp Hill Street, which is a place where kids go to play basketball after school and have their, Boy Scout meetings and, you know, have activities until their parents pick them up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's actually a conservative Latino organization that was going to host this speaker who lives elsewhere, who lives out of state, but is on tour. And yeah.
Sorry. You kind of, the theme took me a little by surprise, and I haven't been writing lately, and I probably shouldn't read it because the only thing I can think of to read, I think I've read here before, and it's actually pretty long, several minutes long, called hashtag we. It's a sort of a perspective on being queer. Um, but I think I've read it here before.
but it
I think I
fits in
got
this
them.
point of time. So go ahead.
It's several minutes long, though. Is that
Oh, that's
okay?
fine. Yeah, please. Hashtag it doesn't sound familiar to me, so I say that
I
means
ran
it bears repeating, even if you have read it before.
I ran this series in Oakland a few years back. It stopped with the pandemic. That was a queer series, but for mostly for writers. And I was transitioning to have it be for musicians and artists as well, in which it wasn't just a reading series. I would invite two people, it was every few months, to talk for half an hour, which is, as and all of you know, is a very long time. It's long form. And I told them they can split it between, I wanted them to give a talk, like a new talk, fresh talk about being marginalized as queer, either from within or without, but especially within the queer community, So we would have queer people of color talking about, racism within the gay community or not, other things. Queer people of disabilities and all that. Um and because I think I started it. And so they would give talks and then read some of their work. And I started it partially because I felt marginalized within the queer community myself. And I'm not going to go on a long rant about that, but because I'm pretty non-normative in a lot of ways. But anyway, so I was like, well, if I'm going to start the series and it's so personal, I better go first. And so I talked about my life and my queerness and all that kind of stuff. But I also wrote this poem, and the series was called #We, which, by the way, if you type that into a search engine, you'll get millions and millions of, of hits because it looks for the word we. But okay, well, I guess it's on my mind because I'm gonna try to have a reading at B Scrawl, the Oakland B Scrawl this summer for #We, and I just am putting it together this weekend. And I was thinking I haven't read this poem but once in public, so it contains one unusual word. Look, I'm going on for minutes even before I start reading it, so you can always like cut me off. Just mute that guy. Um, it contains one unusual word that I discovered while I was writing it. I was trying to find I don't know, a word to sort of describe a maelstrom, like a whirlpool, sort of thing, but that and I came across a French word for it that's used in English, which is the word tourbillon, like the word tour as in tourism, tourist, and the word billion put together, tourbillon. So you'll hear that toward the end. It does mean a maelstrom, but it kind of is a perfect word where it comes in. #We. When I wake up queer, it's like every other day, like every day since I came out of my mother. I don't know what any of this means, but I do know the roller coaster, the ins and outs of light, the flickering, the pounding beat, the omniphonic symphony of cells. I know my cells, my nerves, my stink and hair, and I know that someone called them queer, applied the term queer. Maybe it was me, the phenomenon referenced as I, or maybe it was everyone. In any case, queer, a sound with a history from the German quer, oblique, cross, adverse, perverse, deviant. Oblique, slanted or sloping, asymmetrical, indirect, evasive. I'm most of these, sometimes all when I include the latter two, when in fact I need to shade my queerness for the sake of safety, perceived or real. Cross, I cross streets with my walk, step after step, breath after breath. I cross boundaries and proprieties, word after word, breath after breath. I cross my own queer shadow indirectly. Adverse, I oppose intolerance. I face aggression or am faced by it. I turn toward ignorance, toward fists, and I observe them. And sometimes I am afraid to move, afraid to stay, but I let them know I'm observing, and I wait to be seen, for eyes to light, and sometimes I am struck. Perverse, I am turned the wrong way because somebody made the sound wrong. I said I am twisted, bent. I turn away from the truly bent, whose nature has been torqued from human back to mammal. I smell their fear. I turn away. I gather. I turn toward. Deviant, I take the side roads, the small roads. I range off road into the wilderness, into the wild, far from nonsensical structures, laws, manners, into the open space, unshadowed by towers and norms, where civility and anarchy meet and caress and fuck. Now that's queer. That's queer because it defies the utterance of others or of those who other, and loves the utterance of those who we. That's queer because it takes things as they are. As much as one can, it allows where centuries of stone would otherwise staunch. That's queer because it allows, because it lets the vine grow wild, the thirsty drink, the body become and behave and be a new form, a new shape, stretching and writhing in its own splendor, its own light, its own scent, turning heads across the countryside to see what new scent, to see what new thing has emerged. That's queer because it allows the new, damns preconception, damns presumption, curses definition for the infinite, lets the mind see what it will, not what it wants, not what it expects, but what it doesn't expect, what might be. That's queer because it savors when propriety pulls back its chair, folds its hands, and watches warily, wantonly, bewitched as queerness unfolds itself on the table. That's queer because it smells good, because it feels right, and that's always okay. That's queer because it has its own scent, knows its own scent, because it knows its face in whatever configuration of whatever kind, kindly and surely it is what it is. That's queer because it knows what it is, even when struck, especially when struck. That's queer because you know what you are. I know what I am. We know what we are because you are what you are. I am what I am. We are what we are because you feel right. I feel right. We feel right. That's queer because it feels right in my bed. It feels particular, specific, necessary, whole, ecstatic, because it belongs, because it feels normal, right, the most normal thing there is, entwined and drifting perfectly to sleep. When I wake up queer, I wake up. I wake up to normalcy. I wake up to skin, to touch, to human scent, my own or another's, or both. I wake up to easy air, my lungs accepting air with ease, to delicious air, to acceptance. I wake up to seeing and being seen. I wake up to all the human shit we pull on each other: longing, confusion, presumption, jealousy, sadness, acceptance, seeing and being seen. I wake up to we, to being one with the species rather than outcast. I wake up to connection, to a sense of umbilicus. I wake up to we, to the many inside me, to they that comprise me, to the kaleidoscopic whirl of being and sense and life, to the tourbillon of life. I wake up to we, to the verb of we, to the act of we, as in to be, as in to free, as in to accept, to allow, to welcome. I wake up to welcome, to the elusive welcome of being in the world, of moving forward, of inventing new forms of being, existence, and purpose and joy. I wake up to the elusive, which is not elusive at all, despite what they say, because queer is not elusive. Queer is here. Queer is very here. Queer is evolving. Queer is thriving. Queer is we. Queer is normal, because queer is everyone and everything. And everyone is queer because there is no normal. Normal is ideology. Normal is propaganda. Normal is queer. Queer is every day. Every day is queer. Every night is queer. Every sleep is queer, and every waking queer. When we wake, we queer, like every other day. I don't know what any of this means, because this isn't about meaning. It's about being. It's about doing. It's about living. So let us live fiercely, softly, colorfully, darkly, queerly, as the need requires. Let us be. Let us very be. Let us do and breathe and do and touch and rest and do and wake and do. Let us queer as we are, as we can, as we want, as we will, as we must. Let us we. I hope that wasn't excruciatingly long.
Oh, I like that. We as
Cool.
a verb. I have to let a cat in. I'll be right back.
I
Bravo.
love
Bravo.
that.
Oh, yeah.
It was wonderful. Makes me realize I'm queer.
But it's definitely a word fucked. You
Yeah.
know,
Is that published?
it's in my book called um called Unit of Agency. It's in that one. Sort of the
I,
more
I looked
political.
for that and couldn't find it anywhere. Who published that?
Collapse Press. Um, I can find it. You know, it's weird. It's very weird because um it's oh fuck me. Sorry. It's I don't know why, but it's obscured on Amazon.
Yeah,
Now
I looked for it on Amazon and it wasn't there anywhere.
it is. It's just really hard to find. I,
What's
I
the
can't even
publisher again?
Collapse Press.
Do they
But
still?
I can always send them. There's Amazon. I just want to see if I can get it to come up on fucking Amazon.
Is this the most recent book? The one
No,
that's
the
on
most
Collapse?
recent is called Mammal.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, but what's on Collapse Press? I can't remember the title of that one. Sorry.
Unit of Agency.
Unit of
Oh, yes,
Agency.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
And I actually looked for that because you had referred to another poem in it earlier.
It's just not. Yeah, I can't put it on Amazon either right now.
Right. I couldn't find it anywhere. I'd love to get a copy.
I'll mail you
I'll
one
send you
because
money.
yeah, well, you can. I have just yeah, you can put your address or email me your address or something. Sorry, now I'm stuck looking at my stupid screen.
I'll give you my email address on chat, and you can
Okay.
send me information about how to do it.
Yeah, easy. You can send me a few bucks on
Well, while
PayPal
y'all are
so I don't
taking
have to
care of
pay
that
shipping.
household stuff, I'm gonna go make a quick drink. And Kamala, it'd be great to hear from you soon or next. And
Yeah, I'm gonna
yeah,
get a drink too.
yeah, just we'll be back in 5 minutes. Is that cool with everybody?
Yeah.
Works.
Awesome. Thank you.
Let's hear all your queer poems. Yeah. Listen to me. All your normal poems.
I like the we, the idea of we. I have thought of that as a pronoun because I don't like
Oh, yeah.
I sort of don't like the I don't like I mean, I identify as she in some ways, but I also um I almost have a PTSD about it. You know, when if someone is talking about me at the same time and I'm hearing it, then I think something's wrong. And so I don't like to use that. And so I've thought of she, I mean, we, because
I
it
knew
seems
one
more
person.
appropriate.
I
If you're
used one
gonna
person who used we to refer to themselves, and
really,
they were intersex, and
uh-huh.
so they considered themselves both male and female, but it's almost as two separate entities. Um, but I don't really, I don't do well with the pronoun I, because I don't think like I'm a static, one static thing. I think we're way too fluid, liquid for that. So, you know, I like the idea of
Right.
we also.
Yeah, I don't like to have to be, I mean, I don't like categorization very much.
No, I could tell that.
but but I like we better than they. And I don't feel plural. I mean, I don't, you know, I don't think that having attributes of different different gender attributes to me doesn't make one. I mean,
Uh,
I understand being two-spirited,
yeah.
but that's not the same as being for me as being two people or
No,
whatever.
no. I mean, I'm non-binary. I don't consider myself male or female because it doesn't make sense to me. Just really in a deep, sort of personal, physical way, you know. But I don't. I prefer not to call myself non-binary. But if I called myself what I'd rather call myself, it confuses all of the progressive kids, which is non-numerical. Don't number me. I'm
Okay, I
like,
like that.
you know, I'm like,
I think people need to be confused sometimes.
they sure do.
But that's interesting. Yeah. Um what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something else. I don't I don't recall it anymore. Oh, I know. The other thing about it, I feel I feel like there's a politicization in a good sense. I mean, you know, I identify with she in terms of historical um battles or whatever, you know, and also with not just historical. I feel like there's um and so I don't want to not identify with that, and it yeah, so I have all these qualms. But you know, it's
Wow.
like I want to identify with the I want to identify with she politically, but I don't want it to be this easy um
That explains
identification.
everything about you.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? No, I get it.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. um, are we back?
You're
Oh,
Yeah, we're
muted.
all back,
muted.
and yes, I muted. I know. I mean, it takes a minute, Jeffrey. We'll get there. Kamala, yes, if you'd like to read next, that'd be great, or whoever wants to read
Okay.
next.
Well, back when you were talking about the campus stuff, that bad stuff that's going
Barnard,
on, um,
yeah, Columbia, Harvard's, yeah.
I I had a good experience this week. I mean, it's in the context of bad stuff because of our governor and everything, and making I mean, he had already made everything I do sort of illegal in terms of stuff I teach and everything. But then got that I guess got worse when they decided that Palestinian solidarity was was anti-Semitic, and I can't even say the word anti-Semitic. But I was invited to an event at San Antonio College at SAC. And I don't know since you're not in San Antonio, there was something in the fall though where they were going to have a Palestinian teach-in, and then it was they didn't like the word teach-in, and but it got canceled. I mean, I was joking and said, well, we'll do a plática instead then. But anyway, some students, in response to everything that went on, and their president has also has resigned. But I mean, it's another one of those things where it's like people, it's just all bad. But anyway, these students got together and created this Students for Justice, and it's basically a Students for Justice in Palestine, but they knew they couldn't get that okayed. Plus, it was like, well, there's other places that need justice too. So they had an event which included a librarians event, which included, are you familiar with this book with Mosab Abu?
Mm-hmm. I follow him.
Toha?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So he was on the web. I mean, there was a webinar, and he read, and and we got a copy.
Can you show the book again?
Yeah. Oh dear, I'm bleeding. I think my cat did something to me.
Oh no. Things you may find hidden in my ear. He's on Facebook. He's very active on Facebook, and he gives alerts before the mainstream media can give alerts about things. So it's very useful to have, a connection to that person. Esteemed poet who studied in the US.
Yeah. And he's in Cairo, but he is from Gaza, and he was able to go to, he and his son and wife were able to go there because his son was born in the US. So that's sort of the reason that he's out of. But anyway, I just thought I would read a poem from this. Are the other, if everybody's familiar with it, I don't need to, but are you?
I'm not familiar.
Would you like to hear something?
I'd like to hear it.
I'd love to hear.
Okay. I think I'm just going to read the, let me see if I can find it, the title poem. Well, I thought I had it, but I don't. Because the way he thinks is just wonderful. I mean, whatever. Okay. Sorry about that. I know it's in the 60s. I just had it before.
And this is a younger person. He's a father in his 40s or 30s.
He's 31 is what he said young. The other day.
Very young. Mm-hmm.
Oh, why can't I read it to my dad the other day, and now I can't find it.
Did he cut it out maybe to keep it? He liked it so much.
It's there. I'm just, I had let's see. I had a long day.
Oh my gosh, I still am. If I seem to be distracted off and on, it's because I'm getting all kinds of emails and texts about stuff that I have to deal with, and I'm just like, I'm busy. I've actually had 2 calls that I've turned down during this, and I'm like, stop, man. Yeah,
on a Saturday night, even people just don't take a break, do they?
They
is it going to pay you money?
Me.
Is it going to pay you money?
No. Are you kidding? Okay, I found it. It was 92, not 62. And this was written for his doctor. He was having some kind of ear surgery. And so it's called Things, and I think it fits a little bit to the theme. Things you may find hidden in my ear, for Alicia M. Kismal, MD. When you open my ear, touch it gently. My mother's voice lingers somewhere inside. Her voice is the echo that helps me recover equilibrium when I feel dizzy during my attentiveness. You may encounter songs in Arabic, poems in English I recite to myself, or a song I chant to the chirping birds in our backyard. When you stitch the cut, don't forget to put all these back in my ear. Mm-hmm. Put them back in order, as you would do with the books on your shelf. 2, the drone's buzzing sound, the roar of an F-16, the screams of bombs falling on houses, on fields, and on bodies, of rockets flying away, rid my tiny ear canal of them all. Spray the perfume of your smiles on the incision. Inject the song of life into my veins to wake me up. Gently beat the drum so my mind may dance with yours, my doctor, day and night. So I was just it was such a wonderful event because it was hopeful and they're doing more things, this group, and just the idea that, you know, there are some mostly young folks out there, although the faculty that were working with them were wonderful too. And then to have you know, to have it just happened to coincide with this thing that the librarians there knew about, I guess. So they had this event, and part of the event was the webinar that we watched as a group. And
how recent was that, Kamala? Was that this year?
That was this last week.
Ah, okay, very timely then.
There had been an earlier event in which, when I had first heard several of his poems, maybe in November, that was a sort of poems for peace kind of thing that was ecumenical, that was here, and I didn't know that much about it, but I just went, and it was a really beautiful thing. There were really people from very different places and very beautiful work.
I love that he dedicated that poem to his doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And can you please, where's this guy from?
From Gaza.
Okay.
From
Can you
Palestine.
please type his name and the title of the book into the chat? Because my memory is like,
no, mine too,
tissue thin these days. I refer to it as cognitive something.
So this guy just, you know, he evacuated. He's in exile as of just mere months, and he's dealing with a lot of survivor guilt, and being very open about that, writing a lot of new pieces, which are very brief, but they get shared out to folks, and I think it's helping, especially I think of US people feeling some kind of humanity come through, you know, via social media about somebody from Gaza who's a poet. You know, it's just, it helps to help build empathy where there was none before.
Where are you following him?
He's on Facebook.
Facebook?
Uh-huh. I don't know if he's reached a limit with the number of friends he can have. I'm not sure about all that stuff, but yeah, Kamala's put his full name in the chat for us. Thank you for doing that.
Sure.
So yeah,
So
hearing your poem reminds me of just some big kind of milestone things that have happened since the last time we met, if you're with us last month. Um, the one being the solar eclipse, and then there was another thing that's more personal for me. But yeah, were you going to say something else, Kamala? I'm sorry. Maybe you continue if you.
I no, I was basically I don't I just wanted to read that. I haven't, I mean, I just have little things lying around, and I actually only saw the invitation like right at 8 o'clock. So I haven't been thinking about it or whatever. So I'm good.
Yeah, so I went to an air show on last Sunday, and that
Yes,
was
you did.
taking place here in Fort Worth, which is where Lockheed Martin produces a lot of the warplanes that are sold to Israel or given or whatever, traded for favors maybe. So it's very loaded for me, but I went with the mindset of just trying to enjoy some quality time with my niece, her husband, and my nephew, watching planes do tricks in the sky. Never mind that they do other things when they're in the sky over other lands and peoples. It was quite a showy display, a lot of acumen on the part of the pilots. They're very, very talented. I can't do what they do. Um, and it seemed like what is that, jingoism, like ooh, US military might. It was kind of palpable among the crowd while we were sitting there for 5 hours in the in the heat.
Oh my
That's why I
God.
have a tan. Has anybody noticed I have a tan? I got a really intense tan from sitting out under those planes last Sunday. Um but there wasn't like a lot of overt verbalism of that, like, we are out to conquer. We're taking democracy to everybody. Fuck them if they don't want it, It wasn't that kind of gung-ho jingoism, which I was thankful for, but at the same time I realized, our taxpayer money was paying, subsidizing a lot of that event. There's a lot of infrastructure involved with an event of that scale because there were tens of thousands of people there for this free event. Um, Meanwhile, drones were being delivered to towards Israel from
Yeah.
Iran, and I'm like, oh my God, so many things in the sky today. And
Oh,
many of them are not butterflies and kites. Um, and I can't do anything about much of it, literally, but maybe literarily I can and shall in time. I took a lot of photographs at the air show, and that was interesting. Uh, when something really large is flying right over you and making really loud sounds, it's impressive. But I kept reminding myself, if I was underwater in the ocean and a huge decades old whale surged past me, that would be equally amazing and much more satisfying. So I just kept imagining, you know, if I could just be seeing old whales instead, that would be
It'd be much more amazing.
more lovely. Yes, yes. I too am a whale. We are a whale. That's Tammy the queer, the queer who's also whale.
Sorry,
I
I'm well songing now.
Yeah, I was attempting a high-pitched whale song myself.
It's what was it? Paul Winter Consort. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I hadn't heard that name in a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I might have to look that up later, Kamala. You put me on something.
I
Um,
think you can find, I think it's online. I mean, I think you
so
can find it.
so here's a little riddle in a way. When you hear a song come up in your mind and it just seems to materialize out of nowhere for no obvious reason. What can that mean? And here's an example. There's a lyric that was coming into my mind last week. Feed, tax the rich, feed the poor until there are no rich no more. And I'd love to change the world, but I don't know what to do. And so those lyrics were coming to me. I'm like, oh, I know that song. I really like that song. Yeah, it's an old song. Oh, yeah, 10 years after. That's the name of the band. And then another friend who also spent a lot of time in San Antonio, Michelle Garcia, who's a
Hmm.
journalist. I think she's now in Mexico City doing some research or writing or field work. She said that she had a dream where those some of those songs lyrics also occurred to her, and that was just the other day. So within 1 week's time, two people from the Southern Hemisphere, if I can call this area the Southern Hemisphere, had that song come up to them, and knock on our little brains and want to come in. What does that mean? What could that mean? I'd love to change the world, but I don't know what to do. So I'm leaving it up to you. I used to think it was Todd Rundgren, but it's a band called 10 Years After, which is kind of 10
I
years after.
remember that.
10 years after what? Hmm.
I think you might have to ask them.
If they're
Jeffrey, do you
around.
know why they were called that? No, I don't. I didn't assume you would.
No.
Well,
Seemed like a good question to ask you, though.
it's sort of cool that you mentioned Michelle because in my one of my classes, one of her pieces, I had sort of left it from another class, but it's about the border wall, and the students were talking about it in their discussions that I was reading earlier today, and they really were resonating with it. And I can't remember the exact thing that I would tell you, but anyway, that's really cool. that that the other thing that I remember, I think the last time I saw Michelle was at the AWP conference, which was in San Antonio, right before everything shut down. And yeah, so
Yeah, I miss seeing her there. I was giving people hugs. We were like, yeah, this new disease, but
yeah, we were still hugging.
we're Mexican. We hug. We can't help ourselves. But then I'd run to the restroom and vociferously wash my hands over and over. And yeah, and that was about March 3rd or 4th or 5th of 2020.
Yeah.
I like
Mm-hmm.
telling this story of riding home on the mega bus. And when the bus was passing through Austin, at the same time was reading on my Kindle Fire that um, South by Southwest decided to shut down and not have their festival for the first time ever. I
Hmm.
kind of wanted to yell at the driver to step on it and get me home because I'm like, something big is happening. This is serious stuff. I'm talking sci-fi, dystopian movie, galore. And sure enough, that's what happened. Um,
It wasn't a movie, by the way.
it-
I just wanted to mention.
okay. Here's a poem with a very long title, and I wrote this in Austin in the 90s. Bus driver confrontation when I simply told him I was concerned about the woman lying across the back row seats asleep, leaving her toddler daughter standing and playing alone, unsupervised. I could not let him just spit out Christian like an ultimate epithet that silences. I could not let him despise and dismiss my voice concern like generations of self-righteous Christian rightists had some time ago left him disowned by their exhausting purist betrayals. No, I'm not a Christian, is what I heard myself speaking anthem. What I found harder to explain and further articulate was that I cared because I cared. No biblical steering, no Christian compulsion propelled my concern. The bus driver bit into my compassion, thinking to burst a balloon of evaporating invisibility contained by long stretches of imagination. It's none of your business. But what he tried to make a meal of was not easy to chew. I don't mince words. You bite, you swallow. He threatened then to call police to be rid of me, to assert dominance by professional accessibility, to law enforcement backup. I did not back down. We make eye contact, we talk. Shouting is talking sometimes. So he was a Black Muslim bus driver who never spoke a word to anybody unless they were a Black Muslim or a Black person. Never, 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 never. And he had a lot of inner fire, I'm sure. And I bet if he would have tried to get to know me, we would have hit it off pretty well, but he wouldn't let me in. And then that day he threatened to call the police on me. I knew, like, this guy is just a closed book. Very absolutist closed book.
Mm-hmm.
So you were just expressing concern about the situation, or
Yes,
were you afraid
yes.
of something?
Yeah, because the mother did not seem responsive at all, and the little toddler daughter was walk kind of stump. She had her chin right on the like the seat back, and if the driver had hit the brakes hard, something could have happened to the kid's neck, like falls and things. And I was just concerned about that. It didn't seem safe for the child, and I didn't know if the mother was asleep or you know intoxicated and passed out. And finally he shouted. He finally answered me. He said, she doesn't have anywhere to live, and she's just riding on the bus all day. Get off my bus. Like, okay. Okay, at least you're aware. You're aware. But still, the kid is not buckled up. Anyway. So the problem, that poem has a lot of problems. I was using language back then in a way I don't really try to use language when I write poetry. So that's one thing. But the other is that I end up having to explain a lot about what happened. And I'm not sure if that's because the poem fails or if it's an interesting enough anecdote that folks just want me to fill in some blanks, which is fine. It's fine.
Maybe you could write, you revise the poem, even at this date.
Yeah. If it was top priority, I would do that soon. It's not.
Just a thought. It's not.
It's a thought. It's a thought. Yeah. And the reason and the way that certain poems come up, float up to the top is when I decide I'm going to incorporate them into a new project, especially
Mm-hmm.
for performance. Then I do chisel and shapeshift them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you on any performances right now toward any?
Who, me? What's today? I think, well, I'm hosting something in person tomorrow. But that's just the open mic that I curate and host. And then I don't have anything looming. There are some rewrites I want to do of some pieces that I started or performed earlier this year, the one about my brother. And there's a piece I'm working on at work, which is about it's like relating to healthcare disparities. Disparities in healthcare. But speaking of open mic, what is it? I want to show you the new book that I published. I think I've been talking about this. It's finally really here. Dress
Oh,
codes.
well.
Yes. Yes. Why don't I have one?
This just came out, and it is a jewel. It's so wonderful. It's got photography on the inside. Each section, which is a theme section, um has a photo of the dress that we made with the poems printed on the skirt. And Jeffrey went to the reading, to our kickoff reading. Thank you, Jeffrey. I didn't get to see you at the reception. I guess you had to leave early. So sorry, I didn't get to talk to you.
Yeah, it was a wonderful presentation, and I really enjoy all of the poems in there. And I was really touched by the fact that one of the poets in the poem in the book was somebody that I had actually been a roommate with, Susan Taylor.
Oh,
And
Why does that name sound familiar?
Susan Taylor was a force within Fort Worth poetry. She Her email list let everybody know about poetry readings throughout the Metroplex while she was alive.
Hmm.
I did some performance with her, um, dance performance at the cafe at the Museum of Modern Art in Fort Worth. Um, yeah,
Lorraine has a poem in here. Lorraine Caputo.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what I'm waiting for, Tammy?
Not sure.
For you to type in how we can get it.
Oh,
Because it doesn't show, it's not on Amazon, thankfully. But
no, it's on Lulu. We put it on
now
Lulu.
that we don't have SPD, which was another a major thing that happened this month,
Oh, right. Yeah.
the sudden closing of small press distribution.
Oh, yes.
And that, it's like everyone's going to go to Amazon now, which is horrifying, considering that Amazon will actually change the price of your poetry book to suit them.
Ugh.
Like my poetry book that can no longer be found on there, we had to complain about it a few times by unit of agency because it was listed at $20 and they kept marking it as $5.
Yeah, mine was 5 too.
Oh,
They
even
did that too.
lower? Oh my gosh.
You know why? I think
No, I have
I
no
think they
idea.
have, my guess is they have an algorithm that lowers the price of things that don't get purchased often enough. So, which makes sense if it's like toothpaste or something, but doesn't make sense if it's a freaking poetry book. It's like they don't get purchased often, but you don't lower the price. It just all it does is spit in the poet's face. But of course, that's what Amazon's been doing since its inception. So,
Well, what I did was I never buy from Amazon, but in this case I did because it was cheaper for me to buy from Amazon than to buy from Ingram. So I ordered like 5 copies or something.
yeah.
And enough that I could get a free delivery of them. And then the interesting thing was that it's it's not the same printing. It's a little cheaper book.
Interesting.
Oh,
Interesting. Well, what happened with me at one point is I needed some, and my press didn't have any because they had to order them from Amazon, and then I had to wait for them to get them in a box and then pay them for blah blah blah. And I'm like, why should I do that when they want me to pay them $8 for each book, and Amazon will sell them to me for 5? So I ordered like 10 of them, and Amazon said, you have you have passed the limit for how many you can order of this item, and it would only let me order 4 of them.
And it was your own
And
book.
why would they care? Don't they want to sell
even for
everything to
days,
everybody
I
all the
know,
time?
even for days afterward, I couldn't order anymore. I ordered 4, and
What?
then I kept trying to order
You
more,
have
and
to
it was
wait
like, you've already
five
passed your
days.
limit for buying your own book at a 75% discount. It's intensely expensive. Yeah, true
Oh,
story.
oh, amazing.
Yeah,
Oh, so
I'm
I'd like,
telling you, my next business is going to be a store selling torches and pitchforks,
I'll be in line to
and it's
get
going to
one.
be,
Can I buy more than four
yeah,
at a time?
you can buy as many as you want.
I'm going to
I'll
read a
bring them to
poem.
you in person,
I'm going to read a poem from
please.
this collection, and it's by a poet who submitted the work, and then we've not heard from her. We've sent her notices. We have an address, so I think we sent the book out to her already, but she hasn't joined our readings, and I think she's a retiree from the rail industry. Um, Final Blow, and this is a rhyming poem, and it's one of the, I don't love too many rhyming poems. I think this is a pretty strong one. Final Blow by
What's her name?
Catherine Clay,
Okay, thank you.
Clay, and she's based in North Texas. Um, the poets in this book span the globe. Rachel Jennings is in it. Victoria Fennell is in it. Amalia Ortiz is in it. Uh, Joe Reyes Boitel is in it. So a lot of San Antonio people that I know, Kamala. Final
Mhm.
Blow. If you think my face is battered, you should look inside my heart. The man I fell in love with has now torn it all apart. He's trampled on my feelings and he's called me dirty names, often forced himself inside me, then played cruel and hurtful games. I couldn't hide the damage, so I stayed behind the door, pretended life was normal as he'd beat me down once more. Friends and family would have helped me, but my fear refused to go. His rules and regulations were a hell on earth to know. My children now are waiting, should we ever choose to run. Escape is now quite risky, 'cause he's gone and bought a gun. Each day hangs in the balance, every night brings fitful sleep. An abuser steals my comfort, pray the Lord my soul to keep. His intentions were a camouflage, this monster came to stay. He measured every footstep like I couldn't find my way. He blamed me for his anger, said the beatings were my fault. He'd hit me till it felt just like my wounds were filled with salt. Nasty threats were leveled at me by a cold, uncaring mate. Now the gun he bought to kill me has been used to seal his fate.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
and who's that by?
Catherine Clay has been writing since her teenage years. Originally from Springfield, Missouri, she resides in Fort Worth, and after 38 years of working on the railroad, is now retired. This is like a one-hit wonder. This person sent in her poem, we accepted it, and we've heard nothing from her. Um, so
Hope she's okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the book is
Well,
magic, and it's available if you want a copy through lulu.com. Um, and they're $15 and not 5. Sorry.
Oh, it's on Lulu. Okay.
Yeah, I put the link in the chat.
Thank you.
Could you read Susan Taylor's poem from there?
Yeah, it's a good one. It's of a style that I've not ever heard or seen her do before. Let me see if I can find it quickly.
I mean, Susan Taylor was really important for her email lists back before the internet, letting everybody know about um, poetry readings here in Fort Worth.
Hmm.
Okay, here it is. It's called Meditations of the High Priestess on the Night of the Full Moon by
Hmm.
Susan Bogle Taylor. Written on June 30th, 1999. 2 days after Colonel Eileen Collins landed the space shuttle off the coast of Florida, a bride dressed in black led 13 camels into the desert where she was eaten by gnats. Thus, a destiny to expiate the crime of being female by humble, impoverished self-immolation over long, long years, growing fat on one's screams, to be reborn, protected, untrammeled, neuter. With this in mind, I clock backwards, entreating the 13-armed goddess to shield me from priests and gutter rats who would name me serpent, the bearer of earth laws, of spiral paths and original sins. After so many years of burning, can anybody wonder that we withheld our tongues?
Well,
I have a short one to share. So I ran out of the room
Oh, great.
because I discovered it's never been typed into my computer. It's that old. It's actually printed on a piece of paper in dot matrix.
Cool. Oh, wow.
And the reason I want to share it is twofold. The second reason is because it kind of really goes with what you've been reading, Tammy. And the first is that I want to respectfully disagree with you about rhymed poetry. I think rhymed poetry is invaluable, and I think that you should probably spend a month writing nothing but rhymed poetry just to prove it to yourself. This poem is rhymed, and it's not only rhymed, it can be written out as 5 lines of rhymed tetrameter or 4 lines of rhymed pentameter.
hmm.
I must admit, I cannot spit without some jerk exploiting it into a bout of dogma foo. Eventually, it's it or you. And why live life ignoring shit? It rhymes both in tetrameter and pentameter differently. I'm just saying.
No, where I run into the muddle with rhyme poetry is there are folks whose ears will completely shut down if it's not rhymed poetry. It's like
Well, that's their
yeah,
crossfire.
and so it's frustrating because you see it when I'm hosting events and I see that they're shut down to anything unless it rhymes, like a
Hmm.
nursery rhyme or something. It's dismaying because I want everybody's work to be at least considered, the first time it's out the gate. Um, and I've written quite a bit of rhymed poetry myself, and it's a super achievement if you can do a piece rhymed that you're proud of because there's a lot
Yeah.
of crappy, when folks can anticipate the rhyme, it's kind of okay, maybe that was a bit
No,
simplistic.
no, no. We're in a lot of agreement on that kind of stuff too. On the other hand, it is a gateway drug for better poetry. And
I like
I
to
think
think that it is too also a gateway drug when people do insist on trying to emulate Bukowski. I'm like,
no, I know.
you two will pass
You
this
know,
phase.
I'd open mics about, and I don't, I feel like I sound critical when I say this, but I'm not. About 90% of the work at open mics is first person narrative, is someone telling their experience, and which is fine. But my work often is not. And so I get up at some open mics and halfway through my piece will realize that 20% of the room is paying attention to me and the rest have shut down because I'm not telling a narrative. I'm not telling a story relating events in my piece, as if they've never heard, and they probably haven't heard the term lyric poetry, you know or anything like that. So yeah, that was kind of bitter, wasn't it? Okay, I'm retracting that. You can erase the tape.
I think it's
But
great if you have
I know how
20%
frustrating
listening.
I know how frustrating it is though at running a series and realize that certain people at the
Yeah.
series will only listen to certain types of work and I do it to bring community together and to like turn people on to shit they haven't heard before, and I would think that people who are interested in poetry are interested in new ideas and ways of thinking, but that's not always the case.
Mm-mm.
Mm.
No, I'm gonna cry. When we're
You're
done,
gonna
I'm gonna cry.
cry.
Yeah, I might. I'm gonna heat up a TV dinner and cry.
It wasn't until I realized that you didn't have to rhyme that I thought I might actually be able to write some poetry.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Sorry, my phone buzzed again. During this Zoom, I have gotten eight texts from eight different people who want me to respond to them about something.
We're not, there's no requirement to turn off your phones at the beginning of this reading. There never will be that kind of requirement.
I've sent an email or two, and because I'm organizing a reading, I really want to be able to send in the application for the festival. I'm trying to get one more person, and my day is out of control. And I think all of us have had like crazy days. I'm still trying to find ways to make money. I don't have any income, and my bank account is dwindling really fast. So here I'm trying to redo my like naming business website and make it look spiffier and make it open and look nice on people's phones and tablets, which it currently doesn't because it's ancient. So that then I can send out a whole bunch of emails to people saying, "Hi, I'm still around and look at my nice new website," which generally, because it will be prettier, will make people go, "Oh, I'm going to give you money now," for no particular reason. It's painful. I know. And here I am. I'm like wrestling with the demons of WordPress, where I'm like, I'll never write a poem again, and they laugh. They laugh.
Well, I will buy unit of agency, and
Yeah,
hopefully you'll
I'll
get some
send you
money
a
from
copy.
that.
I'll send you a copy. Yeah, I have a box here. And the
Well,
nice thing is when you order it from me, you get the free sticker, the extra sticker that's inserted.
well,
Hmm.
well, I will definitely pay you for it.
Yes, I won't charge much.
I'll pay double.
I'm such a bad capitalist. I'm like so bad at it because every time it's like I can pick up a coin off the street and I get nauseous. Somebody gives me a paycheck and I'm bulimic. Okay, that probably was a bad joke, but I'm like, you know,
Um, the path of my journey. Here's a piece. Someone is seated at a plain rose-colored table with the puzzle finished, pieces interlocked, and still so hungry. So many questions left to figure. No one asked them? No one else is hungry? I push the table away and then the chair, but then I become fascinated by a small figure, some dust, on the surface of the puzzle. I realize the completed puzzle is my dinner. I pull the chair up against my ass and lean my bare chest against the red edge of the mesa, leaning forward with mouth opened, the tongue important, the teeth come later. And I use both hands, the one still attached, and draw the meal to me, the interlocking picture of pieces that don't quite make a sense. I smell how it's been cooked, and the taste I cannot describe. It is in my mouth now. My tongue is buried and the roof is expanding, calling for backup. And the pieces are crumbling, readjusting, dismantling, and reconfiguring. A new map for someone, probably not me. A new way of seeing the puzzle pieces that I could not quite tell you about, but it will be complete. And then the last two lines are on another page that I don't have. It will be quite the Technicolor picture. It will be quite but I won't see it. So that's about world building and transformation. And this was greatly inspired by one of my favorite movies about the writer poet Reynaldo Arenas, the gay writer in Cuba.
mhm.
And the film was, remember the name of the film?
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it either. The internet knows.
The internet will always know. Uh, um, oh, it just came to me and then went away. Yeah. Before Night Falls.
Yes.
Before Night Falls. The one of the most horrifying scenes for me as a writer was his desperation to hide his manuscript or to keep it safe. And then he had it secreted out of the country, right? To somebody in New York. That gave me palpable chills and tensed my shoulders up.
Well,
I hope I don't have to do that.
Same as Columbine, that kind of shit still goes on around the world, you know?
Yes, yes, yes,
You
yes.
know, I
They come
maintain
for the
that
poets. They come for the
the
poets.
I maintain that the idea of being human is more a goal than a reality.
Mhm.
It's not a bad goal.
So we're gonna make it through the next month, folks. You feel it? Feel it? A little bit of hope and tenacity and courage.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I have a couple
Hey,
things and I might have a date.
all right.
So if I can get, and I have a couple of like editing projects, you know, like I say, working on people's poems, and that feels good.
It's cool.
I really don't want to do any more naming. I just don't know how to bring in enough money to pay my rent and bills. And, you know, if I'm going to segue away from it, I should at least try to milk a little bit more business out of it. It does require me to spend most of a week trying to figure out a new WordPress theme and all that kind of crap. But, you know, it's not terrible. Those are kind of interesting, building the websites in a way, because they're kind of like puzzles. Once you know, it's a learning curve. And once you learn enough that it's not like freak out space, then you're like, okay, now let me figure out how to do this little thing, and then you do, and then it looks fine. And then you don't have to do much with it for a while. But it's more like if it's satisfying like in the way that a puzzle is, I think.
Mhm.
So the not less satisfying thing is that you know that these WordPress themes are sort of designed by tech people who you know really don't know how human beings think and act. so,
Yeah.
so you're like, you know,
Richard, may your coming year be filled with joy, health, and prosperity.
dear God, my birthday's in November. I'm gonna have my half birthday this month.
My blessings have been known to bear fruit. So,
Yeah, I bet.
Well, send wishes that I
Thank
find my
you.
cat, Jeffrey,
Yeah,
or that she
Definitely.
finds me, or remembers where
yes,
she
we're all pulling for
lives.
that.
may you and your cat find each other.
Flatulate. Have flatulent
Can you
bliss.
say your cat's name out loud?
Baby sweets.
Baby
Perfect.
sweets.
Okay. We're beaming some baby sweets.
You hear that, Aristotle? There's Aristotle is
Oh,
up there.
yeah. All tucked in and cozy.
I'm sending the coyote out looking for her, but it's a nice coyote. It's a
Well,
gentle
please,
coyote.
yes. I mean, there have been sightings of
I
coyotes not
realized when I
far
said
from
it, it
here.
was the worst thing.
In Kamala, I've seen a cat climb up over the top of your stuff behind you there
My
in the past.
Do you have two? I've seen two
Not
different
I
today.
ones.
have several. Yeah. I used to wonder at all your cats, but I have accumulated some myself. But the she's been sleeping on me. This
Oh,
one.
the tuxedo. Yeah.
She's I think she's my oldest kitty. I mean, she's sort of and she's a he, but anyway.
Is it about 10 years
I
old
got
or
she 2009. Do you remember? I don't know, Collie. I think you met my cat. because I used to always travel with him. And then he died, and it was real tragic. And then this kitty was just a baby. And my neighbor here, I was living down in the valley, but my neighbor here, when I came back, said, "Hey, there's a cat that looks like, that's just a kitten that looks like yours."
Oh.
And at first I didn't, I didn't sort of hear that. But then she came in and we met each other, and she stayed. And like I said, she's a he. But anyway, so it's 2009. So he's 13, so that's pretty old now.
Mm-hmm.
My last two cats have been he's, but before then I had a long history of she's, and so I still occasionally call him her.
I don't, I'm not, I might be wrong, but I don't think cats care about pronouns very much.
I think you're right. That's why I agree with being queer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've got houseplants.
that was a really nice point.
They make oxygen for me, and I
Okay.
make carbon dioxide for them. Do you know how to kiss a houseplant? Does everybody know how to kiss a houseplant?
How?
I don't.
Exhale. Exhale.
Oh,
You blow?
Exactly. It's exactly what you do. You blow on them. Mhm. That's a kiss for a houseplant. You knew it. I knew you would know that.
Here's a fact that I learned recently that everybody should know. If you think about it, plants don't have pumps to pump sap up. So how does that work? The way it works is plants exhale oxygen,
Mhm.
and their exhalation brings up
The
the
nutrients
sap and the nutrients through their system.
through their
So
vesicles.
it's because they're giving us oxygen that they live,
That they can be nourished.
and our exhale of carbon dioxide gives them the carbon that they need to live.
Mm.
So we can't live without them. They can probably live without us. There's other mammals and things that exhale carbon dioxide. But anyway, I'm I'm
No,
constructing some poetry around that.
I'm constructing a bumper sticker that says "Kiss your plants." Boy, does that sound 1972 or what?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's yeah. You could do it. Could have done a guest appearance on the Electric Company. And that was Rita Moreno screaming, "Hey, you guys!" Right?
That's
Rita Moreno.
1976.
Ha ha ha! Oh my God, it's a Ziggy book.
1976. I just realized I kind of
Is that a first edition?
probably.
I've never even
And it's
seen that
signed.
before.
It says, "For you, my plant-loving friend." It's signed by Ziggy.
Oh yeah, that font was very 1970.
This actually is signed to me. I think I pulled this out of a box in storage, like at some point.
By the author?
No, it says, this is embarrassing. So I'm going to read it. It's written in a rather florid script by a young woman in red ink. It says, "Richie Rich, my third and final gift is a representative." It says representative. I think she means representation of your superego. Herbert is your guardian plant. He knows everything about you, Rich. If you smoke, he'll choke, and if you drink excessively, he'll drown. Merry Christmas. Love forever, your secret Santa, Lori. I've had this around for a bit and I never opened to the inside. It actually does have all that written there.
So, do you remember who Lori is?
It's a
No,
secret.
I do
Wow.
not.
Well, unless somebody else would like to read a little nightcap for us, we've really made it to the end of a 2-hour session together, and that's pretty amazing as usual.
Yes.
Lorraine wanted to be with us, but her internet's been very up and down, touch and go, so she
I miss
apologizes.
Lorraine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I couldn't be here last month, but I was, yeah. It looks like you made it through without.
We
So
did.
did you say Lorraine had a poem in the book?
Yes, she does.
Why don't you read her poem as our nightcap? Then she can be with us.
Oh, that's a good idea. It'll take up a little chunk of
Is
time
it
if that's okay with
or
you guys.
part of it?
Where is it? I put it. Yes. Lorraine's poem is in the section titled Poems of Witness and Survival, and it's on page 64. The title is I Am a Mother. For our mother and our mother's mothers and their mothers and theirs. I am a girl, 17, a high school force out. I am now a wife. I will be a mother. Am I African American or Native American? Am I Latina or Appalachian? Am I native born or immigrant? Does it matter? We are migrants to the city in search of work. Here we have no family, only your cousin once removed. I scrub rich people's floors, my knees roughened and reddened, my womb heavy again. I fall and lose those twins, and you want to know, am I or am I? Am I or am I? Am I or am I? Does it matter? I am a mother of 1, 2, and now 3. There is no birth control I can use. There is no money for the doctors who will tell me I am a wife. I am a wife of a drinking man. Am I or am I? Am I or am I? Am I or am I? Does it matter? I work as a checkout clerk. I am a wife, unhappy. I am a lover of a married man. I am pregnant again. I am a wife, abandoned, 4 kids, no education, no support. I am a mother. There's the rent to pay, a house to heat in these cold winters. There's 4 kids to feed what little I can. The littlest faints from hunger in her classroom. My son is ill. There's no money. My lover, the married man, gives what little he can. There's no birth control I can take. There's no money for the doctors who will tell me. What? I am an abandoned wife. I am the lover of, and yes, he beats me. I am pregnant again. I have 4 kids. I work 2 jobs, still clerking with a forced smile and scraping grease from fast food grills. And I have no choice. And I am pregnant again. Again, I visit. I am pregnant yet again. That back alley. It's almost Easter. I help another woman. The snow is heavy on the ground. Who is pregnant again? The pussy willow buds are soft. To that alley. My girls will have patent leather Mary Janes, and my son Tom McCann's, and they will have new dresses, a new vest and pants, and this year real baskets with chocolate bunnies and marshmallow eggs nested in cellophane grass. Am I or am I? Am I or am I? Am I or am I? Does it matter? I am tired, I'm stressed. I beat my kids. I'm scared. I drink. I am so frightened. Please don't let them ever find. Don't let them ever take my kids away. I am alone in the growing mounds of bills, in the laughter, sobs, and screams of 5 and quickly 6 kids. I still work. Hey, kids, I whisper into the phone, ringing up a cash register. The boss is gone. Come quick. I still work. Take this and that with a forced smile. And a little treat for you, too. filling people's orders. At night, my legs ache from my veins gone bad, and my mind wondering how, and yet the bills grow like my 6 kids. I still have my lover who's still married, and this one, and that one, and one who will even bring a cake for the children. What must I do to feed my children? What must I do to get the medicines for my son? What must I do to give them shelter? Do you want me to confess my sins? Then I will. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I have loved. I have committed adultery, laying with another woman's man. I have given birth to bastard children. Forgive me, for I have tore 3 lives from my womb. Forgive me, for I have stolen from my master to feed my children. I have laid with other men to clothe my children. I have lied and cheated to take care of these children. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I have sinned for these children you see before you. Forgive me. Forgive me. Damn it, Father, I am tired. I am tired of scrubbing rich people's floors. I am tired of scrubbing their toilets. I am tired of picking rich people's hairs from their seats and my teeth. I am just flat out tired, damn it. And I see that question, Father, in your eyes, set in a face of contempt. Am I from the hills or from the hood? Am I from the res or from the barrio? Am I from the island or from the moon? Does it matter? Damn it, I am a mother.
Wow.
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 Lorraine. Go Lorraine.
Yeah.
I kept thinking of what I think was one of the first phrases in Spanish I ever learned. And it was from a poem by Victor Hernandez Cruz. And I heard him read it. And this phrase was repeated over and over and over, and then variations of it within the poem. And I'm pretty certain, I knew a little Spanish, but I couldn't quite, it's really stuck with me. And it was, I hope, right, tú no eres el que dicen que tú eres, which I think means you are not what they say you are. And I'm pretty certain. And I couldn't get that out of my head. And I still can't get it out of my head. So
It's
go Lorraine. Am I or am I? Am I or am I?
well, it's one of those poems that has new resonances, unfortunately, in all the horrific stuff that's going on in terms of
Mhm.
re
I'm
right.
I'm just hoping that the fact that the horror is appearing in so many states in the United States that it will have an effect in the election in November. I hope.
I think we're all hoping right now.
Yeah, I think we're not apathetic. I mean, if you're feeling the stuff, then you're not
Yeah.
apathetic. You can't be apathetic. So we're gonna have to be walking wounded and worried to stay engaged
Yeah.
and do the things we need to do later this year. Um, take care of yourselves.
Thank you all.
I'm doing my best to take care of myself. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to see you all.
I'm glad to see everyone. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining, and it's always really a treasured thing, these 2 hours. Yeah, I just hold the box and y'all
Oh,
scramble around inside of it with me.
wait. Don't hang up yet.
You're getting another call.
No, I'm they've moved
Uh-oh. News.
how to save the chat.
Oh, is it? I
Oh,
was
oh.
trying to do that.
It was always at the bottom.
I think I
It automatically comes to me when I get the video
Yeah, but oh, wait,
file.
maybe here it is. Nope, that's not it. It's wait, nope. I'm really mad. Is that you can't seem to save the chat anymore.
You can do a paste, a cut and
I mean, I have like a whole like
You have a file folder of
uh,
chats.
yeah, it automatically saves in my Zoom file, like under just a text format. Um,
Huh.
I know sometimes
well, I
don't.
did open the windows that I wanted to, but I like to save the chats. This isn't a very big chat.
Huh.
But it did have some.
But anyway, that's okay. It doesn't seem to be there. So
Do you want it cut and
it must
pasted? Because I did it and I can email
nah,
it to
it's
you.
okay. I opened the I actually put most of the stuff in the chat.
Okay.
No, I opened the Lulu page and that's what I mostly wanted. I just like to save them for posterity. I don't, it's bizarre to me that they would take that away.
So you don't get the dot 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 down at the bottom, the ellipses at the
No, I
bottom?
always did.
Because I get it. Maybe it's only for the host and I have the option to save the chat, but
Well,
yeah.
You can
save the
save it
chat.
and send it.
Save the chat. Save the chat.
Save
I know,
the
save
chat.
exactly.
Save the
Save the
chat.
chat. Okay.
I mean,
Chant the chat.
I clicked on some of it, so it's going to be there on my.
Yeah, I got windows open. I'm just mad
Yeah.
about it. I'm
Yeah,
very
I'm
angry.
mad too because I don't want to have
Oh,
to.
wait. It's now, I found it. It's now at the top of the chat.
Where
It
exactly?
says, it says at the top, it has the title of the event, Recordando los Caminos que
Yeah, and the
Andamos,
ellipses next to it.
and there's an ellipsis, and it says save chat.
All right.
Where is it now?
The
Now
If you
you
look
title?
at the chat at the top, there's in my on my laptop, it's in bold lettering, Recordando los Caminos que Andamos,
oh,
EO, dot, dot,
uh-huh.
dot. And to the right of that, there's an ellipsis. You
Oops.
don't have
See,
that?
it doesn't work for
I
me.
saw it and now I
I can
lost it.
it does that ellipsis does nothing for me, but I have access through that other part at the bottom. So
That's
maybe
crazy.
it's freaky, but that's life.
Zoom is
Everybody changes
crazy,
things.
crazy people. I miss you already. I'm gonna take off.
I can't wait to
All
see
right.
you in May and help me come up with a theme because I'm kind of my brain's burning out a little bit with some things
Mhm.
going on. Thank you, Kamala,
Well,
for being with us. And Jeffrey, as
thank you.
always, I'm glad we could be your drinking buddy tonight. Richard,
Yeah.
your humor and levity and analysis are always welcome. And me, I'm always welcome too, because
You're what? Because you're just the welcomest.
I'm the welcomest. You made up another
Yeah.
new word.
See you in the lusty month of May.
Okay.
Oh, and I
Bye,
might see you
everybody.
tomorrow, Jeffrey, because we're in person.
Yes,
Second Sunday
yes.
spoken word. Yeah,
I will be there in person.
yeah,
Yes.
we got more poetry tomorrow.
Woo!
Have a great night.
Okay.
Have cookies
Good
and
night, all.
milks.
Bye.
Take
Love
care.
Thanks
ya.
for sharing. Yep.
Namaste. Bye.
Namaste.